Okay, normally I make videos on my phone, but tonight decided to use my what is this called? Computer. I just thought I would shoot a quick video for what I read in January. Yes, this today is February 1st. Yes, that's it. I'll get it here in a minute. So I read 6 books this month. All of them were audio except for one. The first book I read was called, actually, I DNF'd a book too. I only got like a few minutes in and I was like, and then I heard about another book I wanted to read, and so I soft DNF'd it. Anyway, the first book I read was called A Short History of Humanity. It had a long, like a subtitle too, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it was, and I didn't write it down. Anyway, by Johannes Krauss and Thomas Trape. I think Thomas Trape, he either worked with Krauss on the book and then translated it into English, or he was just the translator. I wasn't really sure about that. Anyway, this book was for the first quarter of Historathon, which I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to stick with, but I might. I have books that I would like to read in that genre. Anyway, the first one was kind of an ancient history book. This one was called A Short History of Humanity. It was mainly talking about European, but really and truly it went through the whole world in ways. It talked about how it was more a look at DNA and tracing how different people groups kind of spread and then came to get, how they kind of overlapped. It wasn't like there was a group over here and there was a group over here. They all intermingled. And then another, like the last third to half of the book was about diseases and how diseases have, you can see the evidence of human spread with the diseases that came through as well. It was very interesting. I can't really tell you much about it, but it was interesting. I really like science. I really like history, so I gave it 3.5 because it wasn't the easiest book to get through. It wasn't crazy academic or anything like that. I think if you watched one of my previous videos, I kind of said a few things talking about my health struggles lately, which almost 100% sure that it struggles from my anxiety out of control. And I was really struggling right about that time, and things went downhill fast. After that, I actually ended up in the ER one day with an asthma attack, allergy attack, like a panic attack along with all of that, or anxiety attack with that. But I kept having some other symptoms that were concerning at the same time. But pretty sure it all stems from that, even though I'm definitely having my cardiologist do a full workup. But I'm starting to stabilize, so I'm getting things back together. Having said that, I think that's one reason why I struggled, especially with the first 2 books of this year. The second book was Chaos Rising. It is the first book in the Star Wars Thrawn Ascendancy series. I was doing this as part of a Star Wars read-along this year. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to stick with it. And again, along with Historathon, the Star Wars read-along, and several of the other challenges that I have involved myself in this year, I don't know if I'm going to stick with them because I am focusing a lot on getting on track with my mental health this year, and I don't want to do things that add anxiety and stress to my life right now. So if I read along, great. If not, I'm not going to let myself feel like I've failed. On with that, I got back into reading by doing the 52 book club book challenge, and I decided, and I've done it the last 2 years. 2 years, yeah. And I decided not to do it this year. And I mean, I'm not going to read. I just don't want to be focused on having to read something to fit this box when it's not normally a book I would pick up. You know what I mean? So, anyway, Chaos Rising. I did like the book. It was a 3.5. I gave it a 3.5 only because I felt like it was way too long. Now, having said that, I do want to read the rest of the series because Thrawn is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. He is such a scary villain in the TV shows, but in the books, you're seeing him before he's really interacted with the Empire and all that. So he's not necessarily a bad guy yet. Which makes you wonder, okay, is he actually a bad guy or he's just a complicated character? A complex character is what I kept saying. So I think I'll probably go back and finish the rest of them, but I don't know if I will be reading the second book this month, because it is long. That book, how long was that? That book was 15 hours. I am normally a 10, maybe 12-hour book reader, long book reader, or less. I like to say between the 8 to 10, 8 to 12, somewhere in there. One of my challenges this year, though, is to read some longer books. My personal goal. So Chaos Rising was a big step up for that one at 15 hours. It was a little bit difficult for me to get through, but I got through it. I enjoyed it. I just don't know. I'm not excited about jumping into the next one. The third book I read was The Dispatcher. It's the first book in the Dispatcher series by John Scalzi. I think there's 3 books in the series. John Scalzi is one of my favorite authors. Again, this was an audiobook, and it was all of, sorry, I got my spreadsheet open here, 2 hours and 18 minutes. So I'm trying to kind of throw in some really short books in between my big long books. So, it was good. It is about a future alternative current time. Anyway, the world, if anybody murdered does not die. They pop back. They disappear. Their body disappears, and it pops back into the place that they feel most safe. So, if you're murdered, you come back to life. If you die of suicide or natural causes, then you stay. Sorry, I'm kind of thinking about, am I going to get some kind of warning because of the words I just used? Hopefully not. We'll see. If so, I'll just edit it. Anyway, so a industry or a service has developed out of this that, for example, if a person is having surgery and it's a risky surgery and they might pass away during the surgery, a dispatcher will be in the OR, and if things start to go south, the dispatcher will dispatch, unalive that person, and they will wake up in their home, and then they'll have to figure out some other way of taking care of that person, fixing that person's problems. If there's a car wreck or an accidental situation where someone isn't going to make it, a dispatcher will come and they'll take care of that person and the person will come back to life. So it's a way of having some measure of lowering the death rate of accidental or natural causes, to find an alternative. Sounds great, I guess, kind of morbid, but understandable with the situation that they're put in. The problem is one of the dispatchers has gone missing. So our dispatcher, which I can't remember what his name was, anyway, it's his friend, his coworker. He took the place of the guy. He wasn't able to come in to work that day, so he took his place. We'll come to find out he went missing. So the cops have him helping them try to find out what happened. It's more of a mystery police procedural kind of thing than sci-fi, but he does a lot of that. He does a lot of mysteries, but wrapped in a sci-fi package. Anyway, I love his mind. He's very clever. Okay. The fourth book I read was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I had never read this book before, and everybody kept talking about how it's one of their favorite books, and I had some kind of I thought I had seen the movie or something, and I still kind of feel like maybe I did, but I think it was Jane Eyre instead, because I didn't remember anything, apparently, from that movie, if that movie was about Rebecca. Anyway, it was so good. It was not what I expected it to be. It is a gothic romance, without being overly romance. I'm not a big romance reader, but this was more of a mystery, a little bit of a suspense, kind of thriller-esque at one point, but more suspense, mystery, and it was just very good. It was 14 hours and 48 minutes, so that's another long book for me. These are not as long as I'm wanting to go this year. I want to read Lonesome Dove this year, and it's crazy long. I want to read 1120 whatever, the Stephen King book, and it's crazy long too. So I also want to read The Three Body Problem, and that's a long one too. So we'll see. More to say on that. But yes, it's a great book. I highly recommend Rebecca. It is a little slow at times, but that's more, I didn't ever feel bored with it, where in Chaos Rising there were times where I just was I don't know what's happening and I do not care at this point, can we just move on? And Rebecca is significantly slower in there's not action-packed stuff, where there was a lot of action-packed and espionage kind of stuff going on with Chaos Rising. Rebecca's not like that. It's just her life in this one summer, and but it was just I never felt bored in it. Anyway, read it. I highly recommend it. The next book I read was The Seven Dials Mystery. It was the second book in the Superintendent Battle series by Agatha Christie. This was the third book in that series that I have read. I read the first book and the third book, but I never read the second book. And I think there's 3 after this. I am DNFing this series at this point. I did not like this book. I gave it 2 stars, I think. And like I said, this is the third book in that series that I have read. And if I remember correctly, I wasn't crazy about the others either. Now, I do know that this one has been made into a movie, and I do want to watch it, because I think the movie might be more interesting. But at one point, I got completely lost and did not care. So, I don't know who the villain was. I don't know why this person was killed. And that's okay. I'm not interested. So, yeah. I don't even know really where to start to tell you what this book was about. somebody dies, they don't know who did it, then they figure it out. It's like every Agatha Christie book, right? Then I finished that one on the 30th. And I wasn't planning on reading any more for the month. But yesterday, we finally got out of the house after like all the ice and stuff. I mean, that's not true. We got out of the house on Thursday. But as a family, like the whole family, we went and did ran some errands and stuff yesterday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, the last day of January. And so I grabbed a graphic novel that I've had for about a year. And I was like, you know what? I'll just take this with me and start it and see where. I ended up finishing it last night. It did not take long. It was much shorter than I thought it was going to be. Sorry. But it is Animal Farm by George Orwell. It's the graphic novel. This is what it looks like. It's pretty big. Like it's like almost it's coffee table, but and it's got this really nice artwork in it by a guy named Odier. He's a Brazilian guy. I don't know. And apparently he just goes by that one name. So, interesting. I had never read Animal Farm. I think I started it when I was much younger and got bogged down and could not figure out what I was reading. So, and I wasn't really a big allegory person. I'm still not hugely into like the poetry allegory. Like, just tell me what you're trying to say. Stop trying to dance around it. But this one's very evident, as to who's supposed to be what parts. So I think that was why I kind of had trouble back in the day, because I've learned more about Russian history since I was younger. So anyway, I want to read the actual novel now, because although I got the general idea of what the book is about, I do feel like there was stuff that I'm sure I missed. And anyway, the artist did amazing. Like, I mean, you can tell this is Napoleon and what kind of character he is. And these poor farm animals, like, you can just look at them and have pity for them, It's just odd how an artist can really just pull out emotion, with just, I don't know how they do it. Anyway, I do recommend this book. I have not read the novel. I want to read the novel now. But I do have a few graphic novels I might try to get through. Well, I did Fahrenheit 451 and Brave New World last year. For the book club I'm in, we read 1984, but I also have that one in graphic novel. I have this one. I'm sorry, I'm just looking over at one of my piles. I thought I had another one, but I think I read that one already. The Mouse series. I read that. That was good. I think I read that last year. I think there was one more, but I'm not sure. Maybe I've read them all now. Anyway, it was very good, and I was glad to get a 6th book in by the end of the month. Now, what I am currently reading is the 5th book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, and I will probably pick up the 6th book next. This one is 23 hours long, and the next one, the 6th book, is 26 hours long. I say that because my husband he just finished the one I'm reading now, and he is reading the next one currently. And so we kind of try to stay together with that. And we love that series. So those are 2 more big books. But I will say, I mean, I don't know if you've ever read any of them. Obviously, I don't know. But if you haven't read those, I do not necessarily recommend them. Sorry, I've got to move my computer. My legs were getting tired of sitting the way I was. Anyway, but we have really enjoyed them, and they go so fast. They do not feel like It feels like you're watching a movie, basically. And we're listening to them on audio, obviously. They are hilarious. They are raunchy. They are violent. There is gore. It is what they call lit RPG. So it's like playing or listening to somebody play D&D in a way. Dungeons and Dragons, for those of you who don't know the lingo. I have not really played D&D much or any other RPGs, role-playing games. But I want to. But when I finally started getting interested in them, we had children. And so we've not been able to find time to meet up with people to play. But I do have some RPGs that I want to start my kids in playing, because I know my son, I know he's going to end up loving them. But because I haven't played them much, I'm not great at DMing, or GMing, Game Master, Dungeon Master, whatever you want to call it. So I need training. But anyway, having said all of that, I have enjoyed these books because they are absolutely hilarious. But if you have any kind of aversion to raunchy, crude language, or commentary, any issues with violence or gore, I would avoid it. Now, having said that, I do not like horror books because I don't like that kind of gore. But in this way, it is like a comedy and not something scary. So I'm not as bothered by it, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I'm rambling at this point. So that was my January. I do plan on reading the next few books of Dungeon Crawler Carl. The 8th book, I think, it comes out this spring. I'm not sure when. The next Murderbot book is coming out soon, and we will be reading that one. So yeah, that's all I got for now. There's some, sci-fi, historical fiction, some mystery, smart mystery, clever mystery, I guess, not thriller mysteries, and just some general literary fiction I love. Sci-fi is probably my top right now, and I'm kind of wanting to just kind of delve into that. Sorry, my computer screen keeps going dark. I would be interested in reading more fantasy, but a lot of the fantasy I've read, I've not been crazy about. So we're big Lord of the Rings fans in our house. I might start the kids on the Chronicles of Narnia this year, or I might wait until my daughter's a little bit older. She's only 3 right now. So I'm thinking maybe when she's 5, we may start the Chronicles of Narnia. I don't know. Anyway, I love Chronicles of Narnia. Yeah. So if you have any recommendations, I did read Thornhedge by T. King Fisher last year, and I really enjoyed that kind of fantasy as well. I've read what was the name of that? The Elder Gods by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and that was sci-fi, but it was also kind of a fantasy. I really enjoyed that too. I do have a plan to read a lot more John Scalzi and Adrian Tchaikovsky this year. They're my 2 authors that I'm really gonna kind of delve into this year more. So if you have any recommendations that are on that kind of level of fantasy, I'm willing to hear them out. All right. That's all I got for now. Sorry for the rambling at the end. If you're still with me, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment below. I don't care what you leave. Just be nice. And I will talk with you soon. Bye.